Hello and welcome to this week's video. I'm so glad you're here. Today I'm going to be talking with you about things that I wish I had known before I traveled to the Grand Canyon, or things that I would do differently when I go back to the Grand Canyon. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm so glad you're here. Most of the time I do videos on fashion and beauty, but we're taking a little bit of a side trip here and talking about travel since my husband and I just got back from the Grand Canyon, and we had so many things that we loved doing, but there's so many things that we wished we had known before we went. So I wanted to share that with you in case you're planning a trip to the Grand Canyon too. All right, let's dive in. I have my notes to keep me on track. The first thing I want to tell you is, so we flew into Flagstaff because that was the closest airport to where we were staying. The first night we stayed in Williams, Arizona. We stayed at the Railway Hotel, lovely hotel. And the reason that we did that is because the next morning we were taking a train from the hotel to the inside of the Grand Canyon, and we were going to stay somewhere else the next 2 nights that were in the Grand Canyon. Okay, loved the train ride. It was a great experience. I would recommend it to anybody. But on the other hand, Paul and I both kind of felt like staying one night outside of the Grand Canyon was sort of, we wished we had another night in the Grand Canyon. Like, why would you stay a night outside of the Grand Canyon when you can spend a night inside of the Grand Canyon? But so we would do that differently. But the thing is, if you did that, then you wouldn't be able to take the train ride in. So you kind of have to see what is more important to you. The train ride was fun. I don't know if it was worth staying a night outside the canyon, if that makes sense. So we said next time what we would do different, instead of flying into Flagstaff and staying at the Railway Hotel and then getting the train ride into the canyon, what we would do is we would fly into Las Vegas because, first of all, flights are probably going to be less expensive flying into Las Vegas. We would rent a car, which that was another thing that we said we wished we had a car. Now for us to drive, it would have been 2 12-hour days for us to get there, so we didn't want to drive. But we would want to fly into Las Vegas, we would want to rent a car, and then we would have been able to drive down and see Hoover Dam. We would have been able to see Sedona, just things that we didn't have the opportunity to do because we didn't have a car. We didn't rent a car because when the way we did it, there was little bus shuttle things that could take us everywhere, but we didn't realize that there were going to be things that we wanted to do outside of the canyon that were beautiful that we just missed out on. So what would I do different? I probably would not stay outside of the canyon on that first night. I would probably fly into Las Vegas. I would rent a car. We would go see Hoover Dam, we would go see Sedona, and then we would drive down to the South Rim. Something else that I would have done differently is this. We thought that by staying at the hotel that we stayed in the Grand Canyon, that we would be like right there in the middle of where everything's happening. That's not the case. So although we were in the Grand Canyon, we weren't close to the rim. That was a mistake. We stayed at, it's called the Mazwick Lodge. Yeah, Mazwick Lodge. And it was really far away from the rim. I already said in my part 1 video that we did not like that hotel at all. And so I definitely wouldn't stay there for one thing, but I would stay at a hotel that is actually on the rim because, and the two that come to mind, the one that comes to mind is El Tovar. I would probably stay there. That would probably be my first choice. Secondly, there was Bright Angel Lodge. Those were on the rim. So in other words, when you walk out of the front of the hotel, you just walk right over to the rim of the Grand Canyon, and it's gorgeous. You walk out to breathtaking, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to be able to just hop out of the hotel and go into different lookouts and things. It wasn't hard because we had shuttle buses that took us here, there, and everywhere, but the hotel that we stayed in, the lodge that we stayed in, it was, so the front of the lodge, you know, was where the shuttle bus and everything came. We were in a room way back over there that we didn't have a car, so we had to walk back and forth every time. It was not lit up at night. It was dark. It was not good. And even if we had been in a room that was close up to the front, it still wouldn't have been close to the rim. So I would not stay there. I would stay at a place on the rim. I would first choice El Tovar, maybe the next one, Bright Angel. So we would do that. Okay, this isn't necessarily related to the Grand Canyon. This is just a travel tip, but I would say that what I would do differently is I would pack my laptop and my makeup in my carry-on. In that, I had carry a black backpack with me as my carry-on, and I would put those in there because we did not come home with our luggage. Our luggage was still in Dallas, and we were home in Baton Rouge. So I didn't have my laptop. I was scared that it was going to get stolen and all of those things that you worry about. Now, I will say this. We did put air tags in each of the pieces of luggage, and that is a huge 100%. I would say do that. It is worth it. It is so worth it, because when I didn't have my luggage and I was in Baton Rouge, I just pulled up on the Find My iPhone app and I could see where my luggage was. It was in Dallas. And I could see when it moved from being inside a terminal to being on the runway, and I could see it when it took off into the air. I knew where it was at all times. And so that just made me feel so much more at ease. Maybe I'm a control freak. I don't know, and I have to know everything. But at the airport, so we didn't get in until 1 in the morning, okay? And at the airport, they said, oh, your baggage will be here and we'll have it delivered to your home by 7 a.m. I knew that wasn't true, and I knew that wasn't going to happen. And I just needed to know where my bags were. So when I could track them and I could see where they are, it just gave me that much more peace. So the next morning at 8, I could see that from the air tags that they were still in Dallas, but I could see that they were actually on the runway. I said, okay, well, the plane's going to take off. And then I saw when they landed, and that was another thing. I've seen these horror stories about people that, you know, deliver your luggage and have to keep it in their car for several days, or they go through your stuff, and I did not want that at all. So we did not want it delivered. We wanted to go pick it up ourselves as soon as it arrived in Baton Rouge, and that's exactly what we did. So as soon as we saw that it arrived, I called the airport and said, hey, I just want to make sure that you have my bags. I see, according to my air tags, that you do, and we would not like it delivered, so we are going to come and pick them up. And they were like, sure, absolutely, no problem, very nice, very helpful. So that's what we did. And we, you know, everything was in our luggage. There wasn't anything missing, but I just want to say that after that experience, I will never travel without an air tag, because I want to know where my stuff is. So there's that too. Moving on to weather. Okay, so we went mid-April, and we stayed from the 16th to the 20th, something like that. And it was cold. And I knew that because I'd been watching the weather ahead of time, but I was not counting on the wind. The wind it made it so much colder. It just it was debilitating sometimes. And just FYI, the North Rim wasn't even open at this time. They're not even opening the North Rim until June this year because there's still so much snow. So know that it was really windy. So pack according to that. And food. Let's talk about food. Okay, so Arizona is beautiful, but it's not known for their food, at least not that I know of. And I knew that ahead of time, knowing that I'm not going to the Grand Canyon for the food. So I didn't have a high expectation. And to me, the food was okay. You know, I live in Louisiana where we have the best food in the world. I mean, it is so, Cajun food, to me, in my opinion, is so good. So I really didn't have my expectations too high on the food. We did eat. We had reservations for lunch at El Tovar. It was good. Was it fabulous, knock your socks off? No, but it was good, and they had, you know, a good view and all that. So that was good. We ate at Fred Harvey's restaurant. That was supposed to be, ooh, you know, so good. It was okay. It wasn't, amazing. It was good. But I would say just know that going in there. You're going to have good food, but it's not, it's not absolutely fabulous food. Not that we experienced anyway. So there's that. Moving on to the absolute must. If you can swing it, if it's within your budget. Paul and I both felt like number one was the helicopter ride. We had so much fun on the helicopter ride. It was a very windy day and I was nervous because I was afraid it would be kind of knocking all over the place. But actually, the pilot guy had very good control and it felt smooth and it was breathtaking. It was beautiful. It was something that we saw parts of the canyon that we wouldn't see otherwise if we hadn't done the helicopter tour. They had headphones where they played music and it was hilarious because when we first took off, the first song was, is it Kenny Loggins that sings, I went to the danger zone. I mean, we were dying laughing, but they had other really good music that went along with everything. And the pilot, he educated us on what we were looking at and just different things. It was so fun and just enjoyable. And if it's within your budget, I would say book a helicopter tour. So good. Secondly, the Hummer tour. Okay, and when I booked it, it was a double thing. It was the same. It was a Hummer tour with a helicopter tour. I don't know if they'll always offer that, but that's what was offered when I purchased it. And the Hummer tour was so good. And I was a little nervous because it was, I thought, are the windows going to be out? It's going to be freezing because of the wind and everything. But they actually had the plastic shielded kind of windows that rolled down. And he had the heater on. And so it was a very comfortable Hummer ride. We went with the company called Buck Wild Hummer Tour. We had the best tour guide. His name is Jerry and he is a Navajo Indian, full-blooded. He knew so much history and was able to share so much from a different perspective, and I just valued that how he educated us, and he took us to really cool lookout points, and just, it was so good. It's very enjoyable. And the Hummer, so it sat about 8 people, and it was, it was a fun group of people. It was all like, oh, can you take our picture? Yes, can you take our picture? And they were just fun. They were a fun group to be with. So I would definitely recommend the Hummer tour. So we spent 2 nights in the Grand Canyon, and then that last night we took the train ride back, which again was fun. They had champagne toasts for us and all that. And let me just say, okay, wait. So with the train ride, it was fun, it was cool. They had snacks, they had champagne, they had, people coming and playing the guitar and singing, which the guitar guy came and sat right next to my husband, which he doesn't like people to be too close to him. And he was like, bang, 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 playing his guitar really loud, sitting right next to my husband. It was kind of funny. And of course, everyone's filming the guy singing and playing the guitar. And so my husband's in everybody's video looking like, anyway, the train. So there's different train cars that you can select to be in. And again, if your budget allows, I would recommend the dome deck, the luxury dome deck, because it had these dome windows that were fabulous to look out of, and it was just a really neat experience. Yeah, you could ride the train on one of the other cars that's just a regular, like a train. It has seats, kind of like an airplane seat, and there's none of the extra fluff, and that's okay. You can still see things out the window. I just wanted for it to be a treat for us, and so I decided that we needed to ride in the luxury dome, and I think it was well worth it. Okay, so we took the train back to Williams, Arizona, and we stayed the last night at the Railway Hotel that we stayed the first night in. Again, a lovely hotel. And then our flight was early the next morning, so we just spent the night at the hotel, and we just ordered in food from the restaurant that they had downstairs, Spencer's Pub or something like that. And again, the food was good. It's not about the food though when you go to the Grand Canyon. So we flew out the next morning, and oh my goodness. And I did this because it was less expensive. We flew from Flagstaff to Phoenix, from Phoenix to Dallas, and from Dallas to Baton Rouge. Oh my goodness. And I'm sure you're thinking, well, why didn't you just fly from Flagstaff to Dallas and then Dallas to Baton Rouge? Well, it was a lot cheaper to do it my way, but definitely not doing that again. Would not change planes 48 times to get to one destination. Not worth it to me. So that was one of my takeaways. Don't do that. So that's what we did. So what I would do different on the tail end is I would, again, like if we had flown into Las Vegas and done the Hoover Dam and done the Sedona, then we would have had and rented a car and done all that. Then we would have had the car. We could have driven back to Las Vegas and fly from Las Vegas home. So that's what I would do differently. And Paul and I aren't real big Las Vegas, like, you know, we don't gamble, you know, that's not really our vibe. That's not really, you know, anyway, but there's so many amazing concerts in Las Vegas, and I thought, boy, would that be fun to work in like an Adele concert or a Celine Dion concert or something like that in Las Vegas as part of the trip. That would be so good. So there's that. I hope so much you enjoyed this video. I know this is not my normal content. I'm usually fashion and beauty, but just wanted to take a little side trip and share with you some details about our trip to the Grand Canyon. So I hope that you liked that. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll be back to my regularly scheduled content next week. So take care, have a great week, and I will see you